Hello, it's Marilyn Devonish here from transformationstm.com, and it is the 1st of January, the year 2019. So wishing you all a very, very happy and prosperous and healthy new year. Now, today, in terms of the day of the week, it is what we call Tarot Tuesday. And Tarot Tuesday is where I do a reading in my membership group for anyone who would like one. And what I thought I would do today, given that I'm not working this week, so the official Tarot Tuesday will be next week, what I thought I'd do today is do just a couple of open readings. In terms of the way that we do it for Tarot Tuesday. Now, I know I'm going to put this video on YouTube as well, so I know there may be people watching this recording who have never had a tarot reading before, don't know anything about it, so I'll also maybe just give you a very quick sort of overview of what it is, how it works, and also just share with you some of the feedback and things that people have found as a result of doing the readings, just so you get an idea. And then once I've done that, I'll have a look in the Facebook thread and see if anyone there would like a reading, and I'll just do a couple of those to get the ball rolling. Right, so let's see, where do we begin? I've got a few examples here for you, and I guess where we could begin is where this idea comes from. And I guess it evolved over a few years, but what I used to do occasionally was post angel tarot cards on my Facebook page. I also used to do the thing where I do what you call blind readings, where I do, cold readings. So I'd photograph some cards face down. I would post the cards face down on Facebook, and I would say to people, choose a card. And then once, people have gotten to the thread, chosen the card, then I would turn them over because I don't look at them myself. And then I would photograph what the cards were and post those readings into the thread. And people are always like, oh my God, I chose card number 4. And that's exactly what my issue is. That's exactly what's going on. So it kind of started there, having a bit of fun with it. I then used to sometimes, I did it for a quite long period of time actually, pulled a card of the month for my Magic and Gratitude group. And again, people would, go back to the thread a month or two or longer later and look back at the reading and go, oh my God, that's exactly what unfolded. That's exactly what happened. And so I decided then, when I set up the membership group, there are 7 kind of modules and themes that we use throughout the month. And I decided then that Tarot Tuesday would be one of the themes. So we have Motivation Monday, which is something to get people moving, get them motivated throughout, the coming month. We have Tarot Tuesday, which is what we're going to be doing here, and I'll do some readings for those of you who are watching this video live. And that's where I do angel tarot card readings. I do them the same way via Facebook Live. We have Wisdom Wednesday, and that's kind of a written essay thought piece where I will be working my way through history. So we've had everything from Aristotle, some of my favorites, Abraham Maslow was someone that I really kind of, was taken by when I was studying. His one was actually fascinating. We've kind of gone, somewhere in the middle, things like Catherine Ponder, right through to, I think we've even had Jennifer Lopez in there, and David Bowie. And so that's where I will go through, kind of look at their life philosophy, look at their quotes, look at their take on life. And the idea for Wisdom Wednesday is, rather than reinventing the wheel, look at what's already there, build on that, integrate that. And it means that, I'm just sitting and kind of curating the content, if you want to put it that way, so you don't have to go and search, for 10 hours, which is sometimes what it takes to get that wisdom together. Then we have Think Tank Thursday, which is a Facebook Live session. So it's like a consultancy or coaching session where people will come with whatever issue, challenge they have that month, and I will do kind of a Facebook Live session around that, kind of giving some pointers, tips, ideas, strategies, etc. We have Focus Friday, which tends to be at the end of the month, and that is really kind of taking a retrospective look back, but also focusing on the month ahead. So it's like a rolling plan. We have Sharing Saturday, which is a combination of things. We've done free teleseminars and webinars. There's the free one-day workshop that I run every year for the members that takes place in the UK. So for those of you who are members abroad, unless you're popping over, then that's a UK thing. And so, yeah, and also it's where I share, cool stuff that I find that I think is amazing, And so got to be coming up to 2 years now in 3 months time, where I shared the 5-minute healing miracle with you guys. I'm still using it to this day, and it really does well. I'll say 5 minutes. Actually, I started off doing it just 3 minutes a day, and it was beyond transformational in terms of physical pain. So, you know, I share things like that I come across. And then we have Soul Food Sunday, which is something to kind of touch the soul. So that's basically the way that it runs. Now, in terms of the tarot card readings, the way that I do the readings is people have the option of just saying yes in the thread and say, yes, I'd like a reading. Or they might say what the reading's about. I would say 8 times out of 10, people just put, yes, I'd like a reading. And so I have no idea what the reading is about. I will just choose the cards. And I've started doing this in October 2016. Right straight out the gate, straight off the bat, what was happening was I was doing the readings. People were either there live or catching up with the recording and going, oh my God. I think one of the first ones I did was I did a reading for someone, and I picked a card. I think it was from the Raphael healing deck, and it was about organic fruit and veg. And I'm doing this reading, going on about organic fruit, going on about organic veg, thinking, is this going to make any sense to her whatsoever? She comes back and she watches the recording. She says, I was out today and I just had the urge to buy a load of organic fruit and veg, and she hadn't seen the reading at the time she was doing the shopping. So it's that crazy. And actually what I did, let me see, what I did here, here we go. So there is a blog, because I decided a couple of months ago just to go back through the feedback through Tarot Tuesday and pull out some of those comparisons. So actually, I'll get the link for you as well. So what I did, so I went back and I trawled through the Tarot Tuesday readings in terms of what did I say. I even rewatched some of the videos, because I'll be honest with you, once I've done the reading, it's gone. It's out of my head. And so people will come back and watch the video and go, oh my God, that was so spot on. That was amazing. That was incredible. And I have no idea what they're talking about. Now, I look at the picture of the card, because what I do when I do the readings, I take a photograph of the card. I post all the photographs in the membership group and in the Facebook version of the group. So sometimes I look at the card and I'll sort of remember what I said. But a lot of the times I'm not really thinking about it when I'm doing the reading. So I actually went back, looked at the feedback, watched some of the videos again, and I actually wrote a transcript. Hang on. So in the conversation thread, if you're kind of watching this on Facebook, I've just posted the link to the blog, which is on the MarilynDevonish.com site, and you can go and read it for yourself. But just to give you an example of how kind of crazy cool some of this stuff is, actually, let me go there myself. So it opens with reading number 1. I pulled a card. It was called Good Night Sleep, for example. And I said in the video, I said, it's about being protected, rest, do nothing, heal and manifest, take a nap. And then I explained about, my power naps in the middle of the day, how to get maximum value out of those. And this client, the person in question, is super busy. She does not strike me like a napping type of person. I was in the middle of doing Tarot Tuesday. She came onto the call 26 minutes late, as in I had already started 26 minutes ago. And she said, oh, sorry, I'm late. I've just had a nap. And it was just like, are you kidding me? And I said, did you hear your reading? She's like, no. I said, oh, the reading was talking about you just taking a break in the middle of the day, having a nap. So that was one of them. Another one, which I think you can see on the screen, I said in the reading, I feel like you're a skivvy, people's beck and call girl. This can lead to anger or falling into martyrdom. Ask people for help and assistance. Send you people who can lighten the load, letting people help you, and being open to receive. And I talked about being in mother mode, where you're mothering people. So that's what I said on the reading. The person I was reading for, because all the readings are individual, she came back and said, spot on. I just met with a new outsourcer to assist me, ... And she said, it's like that doing people's books, mothering them. I mean, you really couldn't make this stuff up. Let me just pick maybe another one. Oh yeah, this is one I was reading for someone, and I said, sit down and keep quiet. Be still. It's currently like the energy of, are we nearly there yet? Are we nearly there yet? And I said, as much as you want to see things move and go at a pace, there'll be less pushing energy. I've known you since 2003, and I've got no idea if you meditate. If it's not your thing, start with 5 minutes. And then I've said, sit still for more than 5 bloody minutes. If it's not your thing, play and ding. So I had explaining a process for, how to run the 5-minute meditation session for best effect. And then I said the word decompress comes to mind, not talking, not thinking, or trying to make anything happen. She then came back, because she was at work when I did the reading, so she listened to it in the evening. She says, "Oh, interesting!" exclamation mark. She then says, "Of course I'm rubbish at meditation with my million miles an hour mind, but I'm trying a new app that has been pretty good. I stepped away from it as I was away, but this is a good reminder that I need to go back. Thank you." And ironically, the thing that I was talking about in terms of helping her to meditate was also an app. And so actually, this one was, well, they're all cool ones. I'm not gonna read all of them because I'll be here all day. But this one was really, really interesting. So I've said feather boa, brackets in joke, you had to be there. It's at the Mind, Body, Spirit, Energy Fest workshop. And I said, it's like running away to the circus. It will be a radical act. What would it be for you that will be so much fun? Some activity you would never do. A different worldview, where you might actually say to yourself at first, "Oh no, that's silly. I couldn't do that." I said, get out of your everyday situation, a new or different environment, maybe going away or something like that. Get out of your comfort zone, out of the silo. Take time to pause and reflect, like we talked about with Think Tank Thursday, to notice what you notice, to pause and reflect and get those aha moments. Because the cards that I pulled, not surprisingly, were very much in alignment with the reading that I had done the Thursday before as part of the Think Tank Thursday session. My client then watches a video and she says, "Marilyn, you've done it again. Next month, I'm taking part in something I've always wanted to do, but for whatever reason, never have. And yes, it is abroad. And yes, I'm going alone. And yes, it will give me plenty of time for reflection. And yes, it will help me put things into perspective. And a big yes," and she's written YES in capitals, "it will definitely take me out of my comfort zone. I had started to wonder if it was a good idea, but the reading seems to have confirmed that it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Marilyn, and happy to give a testimonial and for you to use my words." And so that was from the lovely Noreen Coppin, for any of you who know her. And, following that trip, she went, had an absolutely incredible time. And so if you wanted to kind of check that out, that's in the blog and the link is in the conversation thread. If you're watching this on Facebook, later on YouTube, I'll put it into the comments piece. So that's sort of what you get when, that's sort of what happens every single Tarot Tuesday, which is why I think it's people's favorite month, day of the month. And I mean, once or twice a group have tricked me into doing 2 or 3 tarot readings consecutively, but everybody loves Tarot Tuesday kind of for that reading. And just in terms of whether people are live or whether they do it as a recording, because I know people have a thing about that. For example, for a couple of years I did monthly big clearing calls where I did angel tarot card readings and also Huna energy clearings. And I would always say to people, look, it doesn't matter whether you're there live or whether you're listening to the recording, and whether I know what I'm reading for about, or if I don't. And I actually prefer when I don't know what the reading is for. And this was feedback from somebody who was in the membership group and listened to the reading a while later, just went and watched the video. And she said, "I've just listened to the recording and oh my God, what can I say? You were 1,000,000% spot on with my reading." And that's also the case with and this was a fun one actually that I did. I don't know how well you can see it on the screen, but this was like just so crazy cool. I was having a little bit of a mess about, like I am now, on Facebook, and I, doing a reading about a horse for someone. And she was like, "Oh my God." I mean, it's a bit, I know you won't be able to read it. Actually, let me see if I got the PowerPoint of it. Let me just see if I've got the PowerPoint of it, because I'll be able to. So this was for someone called Jane. And so she had, whatever she said, I said, "Really? Are you kidding me?" She went, "No, laugh out loud. It's for real. I'm going," because I'd done a reading for her about horses. I can't even remember what the reading was now, but it involved horses. And you can see the card for yourself. She says, "Nope, laugh out loud. It's for real. I'm going in September and I confirmed and paid my deposit last night. Yay, super excited. It's healing with horses. Then she posts the picture, which looked very much like the horse in it. And so actually, I'm just looking at this thread. Somebody else, Daniela, says, yes, very apt, meeting with my business coach today to set out goals and plans, put them into action. So clearly I've done a reading for her about that. So again, this is just one of those kind of crazy cool things that happens when you kind of do these readings. And again, with regards to tarot, one of the things I always say with regards to the kind of tarot reading, generally speaking, this is from a client I just did a regular thing for, and kind of what she says here is, thanks so much, Marilyn. That was gorgeous. I wasn't sure how clear I was, brackets, in terms of asking the questions, close brackets, and yet what you came up with made so much sense on both business, love life, and another personal issue. Love it. And so, that was a Skype reading for kind of one of my clients. So they have the knack. And actually, one of the things I'm going to suggest you maybe go and have a look at if you're new to this kind of stuff, some of the testimonials on my website. And there's one there particularly from Lisa Howells, which I often quote to people, and I send them to that page and I say, read this, because I think what Lisa has said really, for me, sums up what the Angel Tarot card readings are all about. Actually, let me go and tell you. So this is Lisa Howells. She's a journalist and filmmaker. Some of you know her if you're in my group. And she says, having worked with Marilyn before, I know she is highly perceptive and intuitive, so trusted that the reading would be interesting to say the least. And this is the bit that I always kind of point people to. She says it isn't a case of the cards telling your fortune, it's about them reflecting your current situation back at you, so you can clearly see what areas need to be worked on. Marilyn's interpretation of the cards is clear, concise, and understandable. She is adept at picking up the subtleties of your individual circumstances. I was reminded, as I often am, that when the angels want you to know something, they create paths to it. Having the reading solidified my existing thoughts towards what I needed to be addressing and has given me the impetus I need to get back to it. Intuitive, charismatic, and non-judgmental, Marilyn made the experience wholly credible and intelligent. Fabulous. So that's from Lisa. And that's the thing I always say to people. I don't see it as straight out, fortune telling. And there was somebody in the membership group, did a reading, 1 month, particular card came up, did a reading the second month, different deck, same card, however, same issue came up, did a reading the third month, same issue came up, and at which point she laughed and she says, I need to pay attention, don't I? And I went, that might be a good idea. So it almost doesn't matter what deck you're using either. If there is a message there that the angels want you to be aware of, they're going to find a way, and they're going to kind of hammer that thing home. So always very, very interesting in terms of the way it works. So actually, I'll put it up later. What I'll do later, I'll also put it into the comments thread of the video, and I'll also add it to the YouTube description as well. I'll put a link where you can go and read some of those testimonials, because some of them are readings for business purposes. There was somebody on the site, actually, that one is definitely on there as well. Let me just have a quick shufty. Yes, his is there as well, where he had a radio station and he was talking about, well, he says, frankly, I'm surprised by how accurate your readings were as it pertained directly to my radio station. You highlighted important points about leadership, staying focused, on purpose. Thank you so much. But the thing that was funny about that, he said what he wanted the reading to be about. And he says at the beginning, I began with my issue in mind, but decided to focus on another issue. But he was amazed that the reading was specifically answering his main intention and not the one he thought was right, because he said one thing. My reading was actually about something different, and it turns out that was actually the real thing in terms of what the reading was about. So you don't have to get too caught up in, oh my God, what's the issue? What am I reading for? It's like, just chill, relax, calm down. And as I said, I prefer it when I don't know what the reading is about, because that way I'm not influenced in any way, shape or form in terms of what comes up with the cards. Now there are times where I'm reading for people. I remember there was one woman, I'd never read for her before at this point, I'm on the, it was the big clearing call where I do the angel tarot and the Huna reading. So I'm doing her reading and I'm talking about date night. And I said, I'm like, you know, handing the kids off to someone else, babysitter, a relative, you know, grandmother, something like that, and having a date night with your partner because it feels like it's been really frenetic, yada, yada, yada. And even as I'm talking, I'm like, I don't even know if this woman's got kids. What I didn't know is that her mum was also on the big clearing call. Her mum messaged me during the reading and says, I am having the kids from da 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 at the weekend, so this weekend coming, so she and her husband can have a date night. That's how crazy cool it can be. And all I knew, well, I knew the person's name, but that was it. I didn't know what they were focusing on. I didn't know what the reading was about. So what we're going to do with this particular reading, we're going to use one of my favorite decks. This is the Archangel Power tarot deck, and we're also going to use my new kind of coaching cards deck. So in terms of the card, I mean, so just to give you an idea, you can get a big version of what they look like. Ooh, there we go. So in terms of the cards, there we go. So in terms of the angel, so this is an example of one of the cards from the Archangel Power tarot deck. It's my kind of fallback deck if I'm ever going to kind of, you know, just do random readings or take one deck with me. This is the one that I will take. And we're also going to use kind of my new coaching cards deck as well, which I created, I was going to say this month, it's now January, isn't it? So I created these a month ago. December 2018 if you're watching this in real time, and so we're going to use that as well. So what I'm going to, I think there's probably like a 30-second time delay, so if you would like me to do a quick read, I'm not going to do like a full-on Tarot Tuesday, because when I run that I'm doing like 15-20 readings. There's a lot. So I'm going to do a couple of readings, but if you'd like a reading, put a note in the conversation thread. If you're watching this in real time on Facebook. Clearly, if you're watching it on YouTube, I'm not broadcasting live to YouTube at the moment, so you'll be just hearing other people's readings, which when I do things like the big clearing call, people find that valuable as well. And I'm also going to pull up my iPad, because I can't guarantee actually I'm going to see all the messages before I finish the Facebook Live. So apologies if I don't, because they don't always show up in order. So while I'm having my water, I think that would have landed by now. So if you would like a reading, just put yes in the conversation thread, and then I'll pick a couple of people and I'll do a reading for you. And I'll also pull up my iPad and see if that gives me a different view as well, because sometimes it does. But as I said, sometimes the messages don't show up until after I finish. So let me have a look-see. Give that a chance to find itself. Oh, Shimoni. Hi, Shimoni. Happy New Year to you too. And yes, wishing you a magical 2019. Actually, let me also turn the volume off, because that can be a bit disconcerting also when I pull these things up. And let's see. Just like that, as the old Mr. Tommy Cooper would say. All right, so I can see a few people are watching with me. That's very nice. Right, let's do this too. So I'm just rolling through the list of people who are watching, because it lists those as well. Cool. Oh, so Carol says, Happy New Year. How did you magically show up on my timeline today as I popped onto Facebook for just a few minutes? Well, there you go then. Right. Actually, so Carol, you have already had a reading with my new coaching cards deck, and you were very complimentary about the feedback on that. So thank you very much. That was wonderful. So let's go with the Angel Tarot deck. So so how the cards look to me when I'm doing a reading is like that, because they all look exactly the same. So I always kind of have them face down. One of the cards fell out, so I'm going to leave that one there. So let's have a little shuffle. So this is a card for Carol Dodsley. 4. I'm going to go with that one there. So whatever that one is. And people I'm reading for, if I'm doing kind of Skype or Facebook Live, they always know what the card is before I do. Okay, so I'll show you that one. Just actually, let me just do that. One sec, to go full screen. All right, so I'll show you that one. I'll tell you what it says in a mo as well. So this one says 2 of Gabriel. It says, make bold and ambitious choices. Great progress is possible. Important relationships with people who share your vision. And so this, depending on how you look at it, and today it feels like a partnership card, because there are times, look, I can pull, and there have been times in the membership group, I've pulled the same card like 6 or 7 times in the same Facebook Live session. And every time I pull the card, there's a different nuance and it looks slightly different for whoever I'm reading for. Now this one looks like it's more about partnership. As opposed to romantic relationships. That's not to say it couldn't be a romantic relationship on the horizon as well, but the initial thing feels like partnership. And it kind of feels like one of the things that you may be doing is collaborating more with people. So whereas you might have been quite insular, doing a lot of things on your own, it feels like this year there's going to be the opportunities for some collaboration. It might even be that something that has been a long-held dream, and you may have even put it on the back burner. So I always say to people, as I'm kind of saying it and as I'm talking about it, just notice what comes to mind. But it might be something that has been kind of a long-held dream that is now back on the radar and comes to fruition, and you're able to do it, to produce it, to live it, to bring it to life, etc., etc. So it's almost, because I'm just looking at the end of the rainbow, which you can see in this card, but it definitely feels like something that's been on the back burner. It's now a good time to bring it to the fore. It may be that the way that you do that is working in collaboration with someone. And making some, where it talks about bold and ambitious choices, exclamation mark. It will be that time where you just go, you know what? The Richard Branson's book comes to mind. His book was entitled Screw It, Let's Do It, or Screw It, Just Do It, one of the two. And so it feels like that sort of energy where you go, do you know what? I've put this off for long enough. I've thought about this for long enough. I've rolled this around in the back of my mind for long enough. Let's do it. And once you kind of make that decision to kind of go forward and move forward, this whole thing then where it's talking about great progress is possible, that's where you'll kind of see, you know, things speeding up. The card that fell out, let's see what that one is. Okay, very similar, well, different, very different. This is from what you call the Major Arcana deck, and this is Archangel Chamuel. So that's that one. And what this one says is number 16 in terms of, you've got the Major and Minor Arcana. Major Arcana is about bigger life changes. So this is card number 16, and it says change your life. And the reading on the card says a sudden revelation that offers freedom, break free of procrastination, embrace the opportunities that change brings. And so this one is, the first card is talking about bold decisions, progress is possible, about your vision. And this one very much, because oftentimes if I'm doing a reading for a client, I will always choose what I call confirmation cards. So we'll get the first message and then we'll get something to confirm that message. Clearly the deck had an idea that it wanted to do that today. And so this one is kind of very similar, and where it talks about embracing the opportunities that change brings. First one is about making bold and ambitious choices. So this one, of course, is always up to you. And you know, when I'm saying it feels like you know, how can I say, you've been thinking about it, you've been mulling it over, running it around in the back of your mind for long enough. In the kind of this card, he's almost kind of sitting on the sidelines. But I'd say this one now is the consideration, that kind of, getting back into the game, as it were, whatever the game is for you. I don't know. procrastination. That's, and I've seen the various posts that float around again at this time of year in terms of goal setting is a waste of time, don't bother making New Year's resolutions because people never stick to them. And I agree to a large extent. I've just written a post where I was talking about, probably about 12 maybe more years ago, a magazine commissioned me to write an article, and it was for their January edition. They said, can I write a piece about goal setting? I went back to them and says, yes, I can. And can I please write a piece about why goal setting doesn't work? Which they were kind of like, really? And I said, I'll tell you why, how to work it as well. But I just want to share some of the common pitfalls and the things that mean that often 2 weeks after people have made the New Year's resolution, it's fallen by the wayside. If you make it that long, February is normally a popular date for, that to fall by the wayside as well. And there's a standing joke about the gymnasiums are packed for the first 2 weeks of January, and then by middle of February, end of February, it's empty again. And one of the talking about the things that cause people to procrastinate. So those of you in my membership group will already know that this is a track that we're on this year. So I posted the hashtag OSA piece, which is what we're doing to flip that thing around and end procrastination. So that's now up in the group. I posted it about an hour ago if you're going to join us. But what I want to do is show people how to turn that around so that they don't fall into procrastination, and they actually get those kind of dreams and goals and visions out into the world. So this reading is also, has some resonance to that as well. But Carol, just let me know if that makes sense and how that resonates. Let me see. Let me go back to that thread. There we go. So cool. And so for those of you who've joined us, if you would like a reading, you can just put yes in the thread, and I'll do a couple more before I bring this to a close. Actually, get that deck as well. Just feeling nosy now. Just give these ones a shuffle. So again, this is so these ones all look exactly the same on the back as well. It's just my logo for those ones. So I'm just going to very quickly just give those a shuffle as well. Oh, actually, I'm going to go for that one there, whatever that is. Oh my God, as I'm saying, you just couldn't make this stuff up. So for Carol, I'm talking about making bold and ambitious choices. I was talking about long-held dreams, things that have been on the back burner. Carol, the card that I pulled from my own deck, the coaching card deck, is the what would happen if card. And it says, what would happen if you were to take a chance on a long-held dream or ambition? That is just bonkers in a crazy cool way. And that's what I mean. It doesn't matter what the deck is. If there is a message to be had, it will find its way to the fore. Because really, what are the chances of that? That is just crazy. That's exactly what I was saying about it. It feels like there's been something on the back burner, long-held dream. And this one actually says, make bold and ambitious choices. And this one talks about a long-held dream or ambition. So what can I say apart from hashtag wow, which is often what people are saying as a result of Tarot Tuesday, which is why they love it so much. Carol says, thank you. The reading kind of fits with the coaching cards too. Perfect fit for where I am now and totally not expected for today. Oh, Carol, you are most welcome. And yes, and and I don't know if you typed that bit about the coaching cards before or after I pulled a coaching card. I'm not sure because I can't, there's no timestamp on this, but as the coaching cards are like, pick me, I've got something to say as well, just to cement it all. Actually, let me just do that. Really miss my camera, actually. It's in for repair yet again. Although, to be honest with you, I'm thinking it might just be time to get a new camera because I really don't think 3 or 4 repairs is normal. And my camera gets an easy life. It just wanders about in my handbag in a leather pouch. So that was cool. We like it. So, and actually, Carol, you know, and I love Facebook because it has the Facebook memories thing. So what I'll probably do is I'll look this video up maybe end of December, but probably January 2020, and we can maybe check in and see what was the thing that that you ended up maybe taking off the back burner. How is the year? Kind of what did you do? Because that's always a cool thing as well. I remember I did a 12-month, you know, reading for someone a couple of years ago. Did it in January. And so I picked a card for each month of the year. I think it was May the following year, May that year, sorry. I'm at my desk, Facebook message pops up, and she says, do you remember what you said for the reading? Now, I didn't remember what I said for the reading. However, I still had a photograph of the cards. And one of the cards was something about, I don't know, writing or publishing, and she just got a book deal. Oh no, and it started with, you know, I was talking about a possible change of career, a shake up, blah, blah, blah. And she'd found out that she was potentially going to be made redundant. And so that was the reading that corresponded with that month. And then the month that she got the book deal, that reading corresponded with the card that we pulled for that month. And so I always say that the retrospective on these is really interesting as well, to go back and see kind of what unfolded and what transpired. So let's put those randomly back into the deck. So if anyone else would like a reading, put a note in the thread and I will pick a couple more. So, oh, and Carol said she talked about the coaching cards before. That is cool. Let's do that. So, just going to do that. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are always like, wow, spot on. What are the chances of that? You could not make this up, which you really couldn't. And the kind of cards that often come in synergy with that are really, really kind of interesting as well when you do the, you know, the confirmation card, etc. So let me just get back to that as well, because I'm not going to refresh my screen because when you refresh your screen, that ends the Facebook Live. So let's do that. Let's see. Sorry, just seeing if I can refresh the comments on here, which should be easier to do theoretically than doing it on my own screen, potentially messing with the recording. So it's just showing me what I've seen before. The message from Shimoni saying have a magical. One from Coral. Oh, Coral says have to go soon, I think. Yeah, it's very weird the way Facebook does the messages. Right, okay. So, so Coral, if you are still here, because it's always fun to read for people while they are here, let me know if you are still here or if you've had to pop off, because I think you said you had to go to your neighbours at a particular time. And let's give these a good shuffle in the meantime. And the reason I say it's kind of nice for people to be here, it doesn't matter for Tarot Tuesday, and for those of you in the membership group, you'll already know whether somebody's there live or whether they come and read the recording, watch the recording later, which is normally how it goes. It's still absolutely spot on. But when you're doing a Facebook Live, it's actually nice to be able to get feedback from people in the moment. Otherwise, I could just be saying stuff and you're like, well, it sounds interesting, but I've no idea if that relates to the person that you're actually reading for, which is why I said I'd prefer to do this one with people who are here and watching the live as it goes. So let's see. So I think Coral might have had to head off. So, and if there isn't anyone else who would like a reading, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to pull a card for the year ahead. I remember the first time I did that, I did it as a well, it wasn't a Facebook Live video. That didn't really exist in those days. I think it was January 2015, and I did a YouTube video. So I filmed it at home. And, you know, I pulled a card. I'm saying this year is about taking a leap of faith. So I did this whole thing around leap of faith, and I posted it on YouTube. The next day, because we're in different time zones at that time, and Doreen Virtue was still doing angel stuff, Doreen Virtue did a reading, so probably 12 or so hours after my reading. And she said this year, first she posted the card. She posted the card. Lo and behold, it's from a completely different deck. It was the Leap of Faith card. And then she does this whole write-up about the Leap of Faith. And then I think it was a day or so after, Radley Valentine was also doing a thing for the year ahead and talked about it being a big thing to start the year as the Leap of Faith. So it's kind of crazy cool, the way that these things transpire. But it was quite nice that I wasn't just thinking to myself. I'd actually done the video. I'd put it up on YouTube. So it was all there for the world to see. And it came after the kind of, you know, the Hay House readings, etc. So that's always very cool. So I'm also going to pull a card for this year, kind of tapping into the energy of the year ahead. And actually, I'll probably do one from both of the decks as well. So let me give that a shuffle. So we're now into 2019. So I think I'm going to go for whatever that one is there. And from this deck. So 2019, and just, you know, something to be interesting, a message, something to kind of keep in mind as we go through the year. I think I'm going to go for that one there. Right, so let's have a look, see. Oh, nice one. Alrighty, so let me show you that one. So, King of Ariel. So we get the light off it. I'll tell you what that one says. So King of Ariel. So characteristics of this card: successful, stable, accomplished, powerful. It says your plans are working out very well, exclamation mark. Professional and financial success, using resources wisely. And so if I'm kind of looking at this in the context of the year ahead, this almost feels like the year where maybe, let's say 2018, had been one where things hadn't quite come to fruition. Plans hadn't quite worked out. For whatever reason, things might have been stalled or delayed, or you'd put a load of work and energy into something, and then for whatever reason, things fell at the last minute, the last hurdle, or, you know, that vital component, or you maybe thought something was going to take off and it really didn't go anywhere. Kind of feels like that sort of energy might have been what we've just been coming out of for 2018. And this one feels as though it's now time to enjoy the fruits of your labors. The thing I'd say about this, it doesn't feel like it's absolutely immediate. It feels like this might be a window of the next, let's say, 6 to 8 months, something like that. So, but it may be that this is the time that, let's say the first quarter of this year, you start really looking at your plans and you start really looking at, okay, what is it you're going for? What is it you're working on? Where do you want to put your focus and attention? But also be aware that there'll be seeds that you planted previously that now, and some of them might just pop up of their own accord, where you're not even really thinking about those things, you're not really working on those things, but suddenly out of the blue, you get let's just say, for example, that you created a product. So it's been out in the world, you did the launch, it didn't really do very much, but it's still there in the world. And it could be then that suddenly you find that people are kind of wanting it, they're purchasing it, they're buying it, you're getting inquiries about it. So it's not just about, new plans, have to now go and reinvent the wheel. It feels as though some of the things that you've already done, some of the things that you've already created, some of the seeds that you've already planted, they're going to start to now come to fruition. They're now going to start to bear fruit. And so it feels like a much more, I'm often wishing people a very happy and prosperous new year. And this feels like, 2019 is going to be, as we start really getting into it and rolling into it around the kind of June to August mark, is where, with the gift of hindsight, you will look back and you'll see how far you've come, and you'll see how the fruits of your labors have been delivered. So really, really kind of, nice card. Anything else I'd want to add to this one? What I would say also, it feels as though this is also the year where you start building up your resources, because it could potentially be that anything for anything as long as the past 10 years, your resources have been gradually, and sometimes not so gradually, being depleted. And you're having to really kind of, dig down deep in terms of, kind of what it is you've been kind of, so it might be you've created a kind of a stock or savings or something like that. Something has happened to eat into that and even deplete those almost completely. And it feels like this is the time where you now restock your coffers, where you now start to replace what has been lost. And start building yourself back up again. And some of that can also be physical as well. It might have been that you've been, sometimes people say you're running on empty. It could have been that in some respects you've been kind of running on empty the last 12 to 18 months. And this is a time where you can also, and if you, and not even just can, where it might be a good idea, if you haven't been putting self-care and your physical and emotional health and well-being at the forefront, this will be a really good time for you to maybe put some focus and attention on that, both in terms of what you're eating and how you physically fuel your body, and also what you do in terms of looking after your mindset, your spiritual practices, the things that you do to nurture your soul, etc. Feels like it would be a good time to put some focus on that. And also, the kind of social things as well, because this, King of Ariel, about professional and financial success, kind of work and all that sort of stuff. But there also feels to be an element of this, which is the social side as well. So it's kind of, I guess, the word you'd often hear people talk about is balance, and just making time for the social stuff, relaxing, having fun, connecting with people that you enjoy spending time with. Because in terms of kind of the spiritual side and nurturing your soul, the people that you have around you or the people that you spend time with can also be really, really key as well. So that's going to be, that will be kind of an important component of this year as well. I'll have a look about that one in a minute when I see it in the context of see what this one is. Okay, so let me show you that one. So this one is about angelic connection. So what it says, if God and the angels had a message for you, what would they say right now? ? Close your eyes, go inside and listen. So as you think about the year ahead, as you think about your plans, as you think about your profession and what you're doing and what it is you want to create, as you think about maybe the things that you've put time and energy into already that maybe didn't come to fruition the way that you want, suggestion would be is just take a moment to take a deep breath and exhale. And if it's safe for you to do so, you might want to close your eyes. And I'm just going to read that question again. And I'm going to say to you, just notice what comes to mind. So the question is, as we kind of transition into the new year, as we start 2019, if God and the angels had a message for you, what would they say right now? And just close your eyes, go inside and listen. Cool. And then whatever it is that comes to mind, one of the things you might want to do is write it down. As I'm kind of looking at the card, because of course, you know, if you're on social media at all, or if you put your TV on last night, it all centers around the clock striking 12. And, you know, I watched Australia and their firework display. I watched Russia, Paris, of course, you know, tuned on, put the TV on rather than Facebook Live for London. And so there is something about this, you know, striking of 12, transitioning into a new place and space. And that's one of what we're talking about here in terms of the start of the year, having just had the clocks tick over to that new year. And I would definitely say, and if you're used to already having that kind of connection where you're already talking to your guides, your angels, whatever it is you call them, the likelihood that something just popped into your head straight away. Actually, that's a good point. I'm saying to you guys, write it down. I'm going to write mine down as well. Oh, it's the first time I'm writing the date today. The 1st of the 1st, 19. So write, whatever it was for you, write it down. If something came to you straight away, and you can also feel free to share it. If you're watching this as a replay, feel free to share your angelic message in the thread, in the kind of conversation thread, and write it down. And if you didn't get something straight away, if you're not in regular, what I'd say, rapport and communication with that kind of energy, then I would just say, be open. I'm always saying to my breakthrough coaching clients, notice what you notice in terms of the thoughts and the feelings and the ideas that come to you, because the likelihood is, having put the question out there, the answers will then kind of show themselves to you. So let's do that. Let's pull up the old camera just so I have and oftentimes when you go, when did I do that? The beauty of having them like this is that they're of course date stamped when you take the photo. So that's very cool. Fabuloso. Okay, so before we bring this to a close, let me put that back in there. Let me put that back in there. And it's quite nice because the coaching cards deck is not an angel deck. It's, well, actually, have I got the big picture? You might be able to see some of them. I don't know if I've got the full one. You can get a little bit of a view of them there, but you can see they're not particularly angelic. This is more like coaching, because people have been saying to me for the last 18 years, oh my God, if I could just carry you around with me in your pocket in terms of the thoughts and the ideas and the intuitive insights, that would be amazing. And I was like, well, hold on a minute. Why don't I just create a coaching card deck? Had the idea ages ago, didn't really do anything about it. I had the idea in December 2000 and get my years right, 17, when I was at the Mind Body Spirit Energy Fest. And I was thinking, oh man, it'd be really cool to have my own deck when I run the MBS next year, because it's an annual event. And then I think it was like 2 weeks before MBS, I was like, oh my God. I said to myself, I didn't say it to anyone else, I didn't, you know, but I just said to myself as I was clearing up on that first night, it'd be really good to have, you know, my own deck in the room next year. And I suddenly went, oh my God, I didn't do it, did I? And there's like, there's no time now, blah, 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 blah. All the excuses started coming in. The other part of my brain was like, you know what? No time like the present. Stop wasting time talking about why you can't do it. Get your finger out and create that deck. So that's exactly what happened. And it was done in a day and a half, from like blank screen and blank sheet of paper, the deck. But it's a coaching deck. Although, you know, I've created, you know, I do touch on the mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul. But it's quite nice that what's probably maybe only the only angel card in there is the one that decided to pop out, which is nice. So they're doing yeah, I'm just double checking myself. See how many angel cards there are that specifically refer to angels in there. Future pace, desire, joy, notice, focus, conformity, feelings, dilemma, manifestation, soul nurturing, trust, new habits, breathe, wow, being, creation, breakthrough, spiritual practice, gifts. No, there isn't one. That'll be it. That's the only one. So it's like, thank you, angels, for coming out to play. Very much appreciated. So that's cool. Alrighty, well, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. Oh, Sita says, hi, can I have a card, please? Well, Sita, you know what this is about already, having had a good year or so of it in terms of the Tarot Tuesday sessions. Whoops. Okay. There's no whoops about it. I'll go for that one as well. And the thing about it is, it's not about taking every card that you drop, because that would just be crazy. You could drop the whole deck, and then what you're going to do. But it's the way sometimes that cards will leap out is the thing that would get my attention, in terms of, would determine, am I going to pay any attention to that or am I not? So let's see what that card was that decided to okay, so this one is a 5 of Michael. And what this one says is, this situation doesn't serve you, exclamation mark. Release your attachment to the outcome. Consider taking a more uplifting approach. And so with regards to this one, and I call this his angelic hoover, like vacuum cleaner. This might be a really, really good time for you to just kind of take stock. Look at the situations you find yourself in, look at the things you're actually doing, and that might be the things that you're physically doing, it may be the things that you're thinking in terms of your mindset, and you might just kind of want to do a little stock take and go, does this still serve me? Is this still useful? Now, one of the things that can get in the way in terms of goal settings, New Year's resolutions, yada, 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 is the attachment that people have to it. So it may be that there is something that you really, really, really want, and a really good way of helping that come into manifestation is releasing the attachment to it. And also, if you're honest with yourself, you know, sometimes if you did an inventory of your thoughts, an inventory of your thinking, what you might want to do is kind of go, if I were going to do it on percentage, like 50-50, 60-40, 80-20, 90-10, whatever, what percentage of your thoughts are supportive of you, and what percentage of your thoughts are what you might call kind of negative and doubting, and you know, the kind of the negative self-chatter and that sort of thing. And so what you might want to do with that as we kind of go into the year is just look at maybe some of the patterns and habits that you may have fallen into, and look at the ones that it might be a good idea to change them, a good idea to kind of release those, a good idea to kind of let them go. And I guess it's a bit like carrying old baggage. Sometimes you carry things just because that's the way it is, and that's what you've always done, and that's the way it always is, and you just hadn't even conceived of it being any other way. And then there are other times where you actually go, do you know what, I know I've always done it this way, or I know this has been the situation, but does it have to be? Or could it be now time to look at everything, and also the things that you've allowed to continue, because this is sometimes the boundaries issue, where you've allowed things to move in a particular sort of direction. You've allowed people maybe to do certain things or treat you in a certain way, and suddenly you wake up and go, actually, that's not okay anymore. It's never been okay. You've just never done anything about it. And so this is maybe one of those which is calling on you to just kind of look at some of the people, the situations and scenarios that you find yourself in, and look at if you maybe want to make some changes there. Okay, let's see, I'm going to go for that one there as well. So the card is new habits and positive. So I have just been saying you might want to look at your thoughts, and you know, have they where they've been less than positive, yada yada yada. So what it says on this card is, what new habit, if you were to adopt it, would make a massive positive difference in your life? So just to recap, Archangel Michael says, this situation doesn't serve you. Release the attachment to the outcome. Consider taking a more uplifting approach. So it's looking at old habits, it's looking at old situations, and it's looking at being more positive. And the card from the coaching card deck is about new habits and being more positive. I mean, I really don't think there's anything else I need to say apart from thank you and good night. Because And as I said, it really doesn't matter. And even though the coaching cards are not angelic cards, you can see from the couple of readings that we've done here today, you will get the same message that you would get if you were using the Angel Tarot card deck. It's just that these are a little bit more practical and pragmatic, and often have, you know, some practical things for you to do, some ways that you can change your mindset, some things that you can actually kind of go, right, do that, put that into practice, rather than, oh, that's nice, now what do I do? It's like, okay, oh, that's nice, and actually this is what I can now do. Or it's the kind of introspective piece and it's the coaching piece. So completely different decks, same message both times. So cool. Yeah, fabulous. Yeah, what can I say? Thanks, angels. So yeah, and somebody I did, because I did a couple of free readings from the coaching card deck for people from my e-newsletter list, and actually it was Coral who's she was saying, well, you know what, Marilyn, you don't really need cards, because we started those. I'd said a word, I don't even know, can't remember what the word was now. She went, that's exactly what's going on for me right now. And that was before we'd even, and she said, you don't need cards, it's all just there, it's kind of the intuition. And I agree with her, and not everybody is switched on to their intuition, which is why the cards are really, really useful, to give you a little bit of a kickstart. And that. So Coral, I'm just going to pull a quick card for you as well, which you can watch when they're recording. So when you are watching the recording, feel free to go into the thread and let me know how the card resonates for you. Actually, I'm going to do that first. Well, I'm going to go for that one there. Okay, so got Raphael, and again, it's kind of you know, we just had the whole thing with Christmas gifts and presents. You can see all the gifts and presents around her on the floor. So what this one says, it says, everything happens for a reason. Release regret and embrace the opportunities for happiness. Search for the silver lining. And actually, a friend of mine, Gina Batt, has just created a new card deck called the Silver Linings. So really nice nod to that as well. But yeah, everything happens for a reason. Release regret and embrace the opportunities for happiness. Search for the silver lining. Now, with regards to this one, she's opened all of these boxes and gifts and what, you know, look to be wonderful presents, and she's still not happy. Still looking for something else. And so this is also sometimes one I call the sort of gratitude card. And so what you might want to do is re-examine, and this is the perfect time for doing it. Like if you saw the post I put up yesterday, it's a picture of both of my diaries, both my desk diary and my big, you know, intention setting one. And what I did is I went back and I went through and I kind of did a whole review of the year. So what you might want to do is go back, look at some of the things that were less than positive that happened to you last year. So if you're watching this in real time, we're talking about looking back at 2018. If you happen to be watching it another time, then just start from where you are, and you might be watching this in June 2022, for example. So you might go, okay, let me look back to June, between here and June 2021, for example. So what you might want to do is kind of look back at the last year, pick some of the situations, and as I was saying, I was like, pick 5, and that might just be because it's a 5 of Raphael, but pick, let's say, 5 of those, and maybe pick 5 of the worst ones, the most devastating ones, and the ones that are furthest away is probably going to be easier to do it for those. If something just happened yesterday, you might still be in the eye of the storm, but what you might want to do with those is look back and go, okay, number 1, what did I learn? Who am I as a result of this thing, this situation, this circumstance? And if I were to know, what is the silver lining? what's the gift in this situation? What's the message in this situation? Because oftentimes, even when something has been really difficult, it's like there are gems and jewels in there to be found and to be mined and to be brought to the surface. As I said, if you're right in the eye of the storm, this is not the time to do it. Pick something that's further away. But it's often very useful to go back. I mean, you know, now I can hear Dickens, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It's often useful to go back, look at some of those really challenging situations, but with the gift of hindsight, you know, how did that change me? Who am I now as a result of that? And I, you know, my first insight into consciously getting it was when, what was the most devastating thing that ever happened in my life was when, you know, found out my partner was having an affair. If people had said to me in that moment, oh, this will be really good for you, I would have just like punched the lights out, probably, metaphorically speaking. It was just like, I'm not interested, go away, leave me alone, I am devastated, this is the worst thing that could have ever happened, my whole life has just crumbled around my ears, everything I thought was going to be happening is now no longer going to come to fruition, yada yada yada. With hindsight, that situation has been the catalyst for pretty much everything I am doing now, and it's one of the major reasons why I sit here before you today. Now, I suspect that this journey would have found me eventually had I not gone through that situation, but that situation accelerated me into what I'm doing now. And so and I say it to this day when I run courses and workshops, and when I, you know, for many years I had a relationship column for kind of a magazine where I was the agony aunt, also for I think 5 or 6, probably about 6 years actually, for Spirit and Destiny magazine. And although people could write in about anything, people often writing in about relationships. And so I, you know, would say time and time again, some of those devastating times will create and bring forth and release something within you where you become kind of, how can I say, I guess we did a piece around this for Wisdom Wednesday, Know Thyself. You get some insight, deep insight into yourself, which sometimes, you know, wouldn't have happened any other way. And so I'd say go back and now make a conscious decision to look for those silver linings, and maybe go as far as, with each of the 5 that we've chosen, come up with 5 silver linings for each of those situations. So you now got 25 really cool things that have happened, or that is starting to happen and starting to unfold as a result of whatever those situations were. Because that's where you can actually then start to bring forth consciously the reasons for some of these things. And I'm just going to do a very quick pull from the coaching cards and just see if there is a little coaching exercise or a little message it might be useful for you to play with there as well. Oh, I think I might go for that one, whatever that one is. So, you know, when I just sat there going, it's the, you know, it's about insight, it's about what it brings forth. Okay, this card is called Soul Exploration, although you saw it before I did, so you thought you've seen it already. So what it says on this card, it says, what is the color of your soul? Describe what you see, feel, hear, imagine, or notice as you tune into yourself and connect. And how embodied and connected and in alignment do you feel? And I would say that do this one as a before and after exercise. You know, nice and is there going to be a nice coaching exercise for you to do. You're watching this reading as a recording. Sit down, tune into your soul, and think about how aligned and how connected you feel. And, you know, do a quick and dirty rating, as I call it, scale of 1 to 10. And 1 equals not connected at all, 10 equals totally connected and in alignment. Then do the silver linings exercise, where you're going to end up with 25 cool things, and get yourself some new perspective. If anything that comes up, you might want to use some of the skills that you have to do some energy clearing and clearing of the emotions around that. And then after you've done that, and maybe leave a couple of days just to have things kind of settle down, do the soul exploration exercise and just see what comes to mind in terms of your sense of connection, your sense of alignment. Because if you've had some upsets, if you've had some recent disappointments, the way my mum used to say is it can knock you for six. And that's where people can start doubting themselves, losing confidence, depending on what it is that's happened. And then you almost lose that sense of connection. You can't see straight, you can't think straight. And the image that I chose for this one, if you look at it carefully, for me, it reminded me of an eye. But really that whole thing about going inside, having that sense of introspection. So when I was saying, you know, oftentimes you have these situations that will change you internally and you kind of evolve as a human being. And that also, of course, evolves your soul. It's almost like time for that. And particularly what I'll say to you is, as you are going through picking the issues you're going to look at and looking at the silver linings, what you might also want to do is step back from that after you've done your review and ask yourself, are there any patterns here? Are there any patterns or any themes that seem to keep repeating themselves over the course of your lifetime even? And if there are some of those themes and patterns, this is where, like, if I was doing something like a soul plan reading, for example, we'd look at what does your soul plan say? Because you can have, you know, worldly challenges, spiritual challenges. And these are the kind of patterns that almost keep recurring until you solve and resolve them. So you can then step into your worldly and spiritual gifts and talents and your soul destiny. So I would definitely say have a look at those patterns as well, because if they've been recurring over the period of your lifetime, or you have a situation that you almost kind of go, oh my God, not again, this is where you might want to look at it from a deeper soul level, and a level of what we might call your beliefs and your limiting beliefs, and maybe look at what can you do to change and transform that as well. So cool. So Coral, when you watch this as a recording, do type your comments in this conversation thread and let me know kind of what you think and how that resonates. Cool. Well, thank you for watching. If you would like a reading, the regular Tarot Tuesday will resume. I'm going to do it next week now in terms of I'm going to do it next week in terms of the regular angel kind of tarot reading for those of you in the membership group. You know the form. The reason I didn't put the card up today, it would just confuse the heck out of everyone, because then I'll have messages all again. What time is Tarot Tuesday? What time is Tarot Tuesday? So I thought I'm going to let Tuesday pass. Then I'm going to put the card up. So I'll do what I always do. For those of you, actually, I've got a few people who are new to the membership group. So the way that it works with all of the threads is, like, for this month, I will pick a tarot card. I probably pick it on my iPad and I'll just put, you know, add the date and stuff to it. And then once I've posted the card, you will then put under the thread, just put yes if you'd like a reading. If there's a particular something you want the reading to be about, then you can put that in as well. Let's just say relationships or work and career or money and abundance or health and well-being. And then what that means is I may then use, let's say, the Raphael Healing deck or the Angels of Abundance deck or the Life Purpose deck, or, you know, if you feel you're being held back by the past, might use the Past Life deck, something like that. But if it's a yes, then I will intuitively choose a deck. And sometimes, because this one that I've been using today is a favorite, then people will often say, you know, kind of use the Archangel Power deck. And so what I'll do after today, so as not to confuse anyone, I'll put and actually somebody in the group who always normally starts the thread early, and says, I want to make sure I'm on time, I want to make sure I get my reading. So you can also, I won't say her name, but you'll know who it is. When you log onto the group, you will see their name. You can also put something under that as well, and I'll check both of those places and spaces. But next week, for those of you in the membership group, is when I'll do the Facebook Live reading. This was just to give people a taster of what Tarot Tuesday is all about, how does it work, and also just some of those questions about, you know, angel tarot card readings generally and what you can expect as a result of those. So yeah, so normal services will resume next week for the Tarot Tuesday readings via Facebook Live in the membership group. And if you'd like to join the membership group, feel free to, and it might, you know, you can join on a monthly basis if you just wanted to kind of dip in for a month or whatever it is for you. You can join as an annual member, or you can join as a lifetime member. So if you wanted to, let's say, have a little bit of a kickstart in terms of your goals, your outcomes, finding out a bit more about some of the reasons why goal setting and New Year's resolutions really rarely work. That's what we're focusing on this month. You can join us just for the month if you wanted to do that. So go to www.marilynsmembershipgroup.eventbrite.com. I'll put that in the conversation thread as well, and then you can kind of just choose how you wanted to do that. And if you wanted to just book a reading rather than have the free readings every month as in the membership group, you can go to my website, click on the coaching tab, and it will pull down the tab that says Angel Tarot Card Readings, and those are I think it starts at £70 an hour or something like that, for basic reading. So yeah, you can either buy a reading, that's very nice, or you can just get a free reading in the membership group for, I think it's £38 a month or something like that now. So yeah, your choice. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Wishing you all an incredible, fabulous, amazing, magical, healthy, radiant, prosperous 2019 and beyond. And for those of you in the and if you're in the membership group, I have just posted the instructions for #OSA, or what I've just checked #OSA, loads of stuff comes up. So it might be #MMG, Marilyn's membership group, OSA, just so it's easier for us to track it throughout the year. But I've just posted the next set of instructions for how to do that. Because this is, people often say, God, you produce a lot of content and you run a lot of workshops, and how do you go from I have nothing to a whole card deck in a day and a half? And what I've shared with you guys in the membership group is how it gets done. And it gets done very easily with almost like no effort at all. And I know it's going to sound really simple because I'm saying to you, you just need like 5 minutes a day to get started. So I know, do not let the simplicity of it, fool you. That is how I get stuff done. That is how things get created. And so I've just posted that in the membership group if you're watching this in real time. Oh, hi, Annika. So guilty as charged. Yes. Well, I didn't name any names, but I always, even if there were the occasion, and I always, because I've started doing it already. So I've got various calendars here, and I've got Sunny's Boston calendar. So I'm now going to be sitting down and writing out, where everything happens in terms of when is Motivation Monday, when is Tarot Tuesday, when is Wisdom Wednesday, when is Think Tank Thursday, when is Focus Friday, when is Sharing Saturday, when is Soul Food Sunday. And I actually sit and write those out for the whole year. Now, they will shift and change a bit depending on my schedule, because I might write down I'm doing Think Tank Thursday on X number of days, and then I'm speaking at a conference or running a workshop or something like that, or I'm coaching. But with the Tarot Tuesday, tend to be the first Tuesday of the month, and the group, even if there was a month where I didn't remember, because that can happen, I can just get really busy and all the days just blend into one. We can always rely on a few people in the group to make sure, on behalf of everyone, that I will do the reading. So thank you, Annika, for always being there to remind everyone and the group. And it's great for the new people who don't really know the form yet. To ensure that happens. So yeah, we'll be doing that next week, and I'll put I'll choose a card for the month ahead, probably tomorrow, and put that up in the group. Cool. So if you're just joining this late, you might want to, when I publish the video, go back. I did a reading for the year ahead. I picked a couple of cards for that. I like words as well. I like words. Okay, so final. So yes, scroll back, watch the video again. You'll get the reading for the year ahead, in terms of just some things to think about for the year ahead. And I might just close with a word for the year. How am I going to do that though? Because all the cards have got loads of words on them. So I might just go with the first word that I see. Word for 2000. I'm just going to say my intention is to be relevant for those of you who are watching this video or YouTube video. Okay, I'm going to go with that one there. And with this deck, I'm going to go with that one there. Committed. That's the first word I saw, committed. So that's that one. And first word I saw on this one is breakthrough. Okay, so if I were going to kind of go, all right, if we were just going to pick a couple of words, actually, let me put that back to there so you can see. I'll look to that for ages. So those are the two cards, the Knight of Raphael and the Breakthrough card. So I would definitely say that if I were then thinking of it in terms of just like, okay, what would be a couple of really good words to be taking into 2019? One of them is committed. The first, this one is breakthrough. So if I put them both together, it will be then saying if there's something you really want to achieve this year, you kind of got to commit to making the breakthrough. You've got to commit to doing whatever it is that is going to get things done. That's very much the theme of what we've just started in the membership group to help people have focus and accountability throughout the rest of this year. And I would definitely say, generally speaking, even if it's not the new year and not the beginning of the year, that's a good approach. And actually, okay, the message on this one, you know, again, as people are doing a review, they're looking at goals, they're looking at New Year's resolutions, this one actually might be useful in terms of just some of the things, to some closing thoughts. So it says, if you were to know what is stopping and blocking and holding you back, question mark, is it fear and negative emotions, limiting beliefs and issues of worthiness and deserving, or ancestral, genealogical, or societal paradigms? When you resolve them, it really does change and transform your world. And that sounds very similar to a process I took myself through last night in terms of getting ready for this year, and the little meditation that I did in terms of looking at ancestral, genealogical, and past life ties. And so that could be a really good starting point for this year if you don't yet have a little process or something that you do. I think Carol Dodsley said something about, she says, stop being scared. So very much in alignment with that, because if it is fear and if it's negative emotions or if it's limiting beliefs, kind of look at what that is and do something to give yourself that breakthrough, such that you can move into this year unimpeded. Fabulous. Well, thank you for joining me. Wishing you a fantastic year. And yeah, and if you know any, and if you'd like a reading, you know, feel free to head on over to the website and book one. If you know someone who might benefit from having a bit of clarity in this sort of more intuitive way, then feel free to share this video with them. That'll be amazing. And yeah, here's to an incredible 2019. Annika says, committed and breakthrough. Yep, I will go for that. I'll look at the word for the year. Interesting. Yeah, and in the middle of this video, Annika, I did a card reading for the kind of the year ahead. So, you know, check that out at your leisure as well. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you for watching either live. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for also taking the time to watch the replay, and I will catch you all later. Thank you, Annika. Happy New Year to you too. Bye.